Obama had a briefing today, or what did he do? Was it a briefing? I think it was. Yeah, he was out there with Geithner and one other person, I think. Not sure who the other person was. Talking about his plan. And, I'm just curious what the teabagging trolls are going to say about this. How do you protest companies legally avoiding paying billions in taxes through overseas accounts and other sneaky practices? Now, the answer, I guess, that will come from the knuckle draggers is, hey, goddammit, it's legal. It's legal. Not like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton lied. That's probably going to be what the response is. But, see, none of this is illegal. It is just creepy and sneaky and vile and hateful and very anti-American, very anti-working man and woman. It's what corporations do. Because they need to own everything, they need to make all the money, they need all the goodies, and the workers can kiss their asses. It's very simple. That's the corporate rule. So I wonder what the baby Jesus, that would be Hannity, and El Oxymoron, that would be Limbaugh, and this crazy man here in Atlanta, Neil Bortz. I wonder what these, and Michael the Wiener, Savage, what are they going to say? How are they going to express their outrage to this attempt to rightfully collect corporate taxes?
Let's begin with a simple premise. Nobody likes paying taxes, particularly in times of economic stress. But most Americans meet their responsibilities because they understand that it's an obligation of citizenship, necessary to pay the costs of our common defense and our mutual well-being. And yet, even as most American citizens and businesses meet these responsibilities, there are others who are shirking theirs. And many are aided and abetted by a broken tax system, written by well-connected lobbyists on behalf of well-heeled interests and individuals. It's a tax code full of corporate loopholes that makes it perfectly legal for companies to avoid paying their fair share. It's a tax code that makes it all too easy for a small number of individuals and companies to abuse overseas tax havens to avoid paying any taxes at all. And it's a tax code that says you should pay lower taxes if you create a job in Bangalore, India, than if you create one in Buffalo, New York.
Isn't that nice? See, that's courtesy of Bill Clinton. Let's try to keep everything real on the Malloy show here. Yes, the law was written by Republicans, but it was written during the long, arduous reign of Bill, let's destroy America also, just like the Republicans, Clinton. Clinton signed this into law. Now, what do you suppose the Billster was thinking about when he did that? What? He was a Democrat, right? I mean, he claims to have been a Democrat, right? Come on. We know about the Billster. He was no more of a Democrat than Karl Rove is a Democrat. Clinton was just very slick. They didn't call him Slick Willie for nothing. Just very slick, very greasy, very oily. All shucks, folks, on the one hand, while he just rips us open with the other. And if you're a Democrat and you believe the Democrats, especially those elected to office, walk on water, then I feel sorry for you, and you should be pitied and shamed and cast out of the campfire. Obama then explained why he wanted to stop corporate tax loopholes that cost Americans tens of billions of dollars a year, not to mention thousands of good-paying jobs.
I want to see our companies remain the most competitive in the world. But the way to make sure that happens is not to reward our companies for moving jobs off our shores or transferring profits to overseas tax havens. This is something that I talked about again and again during the course of the campaign. The way we make our businesses competitive is not to reward American companies operating overseas with a roughly 2% tax rate on foreign profits, a rate that costs taxpayers tens of billions of dollars a year. The way to make American businesses competitive is not to let some citizens and businesses dodge their responsibilities while ordinary Americans pick up the slack.
Well, amen.
That's why today I'm announcing a set of proposals to crack down on illegal overseas tax evasion, close loopholes, and make it more profitable for companies to create jobs here in the United States.
Well, what a radical idea. Jesus God, I think Sarah Palin was right. He's a goddamn socialist. He wants to redistribute the wealth, redistribute the wealth, redistribute the wealth. Huh? And Joe the plumber was right. Oh, my God. He wants to make it more profitable for companies to create jobs here in the United States. Oh, be still, my fluttering heart. He says the way we make our businesses competitive is not to reward American companies operating overseas with a roughly 2% tax rate on foreign profits, because that costs taxpayers here tens of billions of dollars a year. And you know what is also so irritating? So many of these corporations, when things started to get rough, after NAFTA, when things started to get rough for American workers, these predatory sons of bitches would go into towns like, I don't know, pick a name, Bowling Green, Ohio, or Paducah, Kentucky, or Savannah, Georgia, or wherever. They would go into these small to medium-sized cities and sit down with the local powers that be, the mayors and the chambers of commerce and the little organizations and panels set up to bring in industry to the towns that were just dying. And these corporations sit there and say, okay, yeah, we'll bring a widget factory in here, but here's what you have to do. A, you got to give us the land to build the factory. B, you got to suspend all these pesky environmental laws. One of the discharges from our factory will be lead. And we don't want to hear any snotty remarks about the EPA and all those rules and regs. Now, third, you're going to have to abate our taxes. That means don't charge us any for the first decade. No business tax. Now, in return, we'll open up a widget factory here and employ 112 people. How's that? And, of course, these small towns, small cities would just go berserk and say, yes, where do we sign? Yes. The kicker being, of course, that when the 10 years were about to expire with all the tax breaks and abatements, right before that was to expire, the company would, that's right, up and move. In so many instances, further into a depressed area in the United States, or, and this is even more fun, to China, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Mexico, an emerging African country, emerging from 400 years of colonial, I know, Eastern Europe, any place they could go, you see. The way to make American businesses competitive is not to let some citizens and businesses dodge their responsibilities while ordinary Americans pick up the slack. Wow, that sounds like it's right out of the Karl Marx playbook, doesn't it? Son of a bitch. You know, I think Sarah Palin was right. Then Obama detailed his budgetary crackdown on the corporate tax evaders. And again, what are the neocons going to say about this? No! Keep the jobs overseas! Let them hide their money overseas! Where's my tea bag?